Hey, I'm Bacon, and I need a break. So the TTRPG is Modern Myth project it's a lot of scanning through documents, sources. It's a lot of verification, and then making sure that I put it all together in a way that's intelligible and makes sense. And I just need a break from it. So I'm going to talk about something that I've loved for nearly my entire life, Warhammer. But I don't want to get too far away from the myth project. I think that too severe of a deviation, even only for just one video, would be it would just be an error. I want to at least keep myself on that same path so that it's not so difficult to go back to for the next week's video, or whenever it ends up coming out. So I'm going to make this one sort of consistent, or at least congruent with the myth project, but it's completely off topic, so I can get a bit of rest from endlessly scanning those sources I mentioned. I also hope that this is going to be a bit unexpected with regard to the setting. And while I love all Warhammer and have a particular love for Warhammer Fantasy Battles, this specific discussion is going to center around 40K, because I think it's, with regard to where I'm going to go with it, it's the more, well, maybe not the more interesting setting, but I think that it's the most stark setting when we discuss archetypes versus those same archetypes under their shadows. From this point forward, there's going to be a lot of heresy. So I'm just going to jump right into it. Please bear in mind that I'm going to assume you have a basic knowledge of the setting, but only the most basic. This is it's more scripted than the last one that I had done. I'm still probably going to stop and have these conversational moments. But here we go. So this is what everyone already knows about the Chaos Gods. Tzeentch, my personal favorite, is the god of change and magic. He brings instability, deception, and manipulation. Tzeentch revels in schemes and false promises, often leading followers to self-destruction in their pursuit of power. His constant shifting makes loyalty completely meaningless. Nurgle is the god of decay, rot, and pestilence. Nurgle's gifts manifest as horrific diseases, causing the bodies of his chosen to bloat with decay. While he offers those who follow him solace, his influence leads to stagnation, complacency, and a grotesque acceptance of suffering and filth as normal. Khorne, the god of bloodshed, murder, and unbridled violence. His demand for endless slaughter leads his followers to become mindless killing machines. Compassion and mercy are anathema to him, making his worship a path of constant, indiscriminate destruction. And Slaanesh, the weird one. The god of excess, hedonism, and depravity. The pursuit of pleasure under Slaanesh's guidance becomes an all-consuming addiction, leading to corruption, the abandonment of morality, and the embrace of every conceivable vice, and ultimately, again, self-destruction. But this is the easy stuff. Everyone knows this. Adding just a touch of complexity now, each is actually a representation of a shadowed Jungian archetype. And in the last video of the Myth Project, I mentioned that I didn't want to just give you a list of archetypes. I kind of wanted to go through them, describe them, and then apply them. So this is an excuse to do that, right, without waiting too long for it. Now, it's obviously not a part of the Myth Project, but I don't know. It feels right. So this is how we're going to do this. Tzeentch is the magician in shadow. Generally, the magician represents transformation, or change, knowledge, and the manipulation of reality. Tzeentch is precisely this. The shadow side of the magician manifests as deceit, manipulation, and obsession with power. Tzeentch represents the dangers of unchecked ambition and knowledge pursued without wisdom, which leads to instability. But that's all part of his plan anyway. Nurgle is Surprisingly, maybe, but probably not if you do have a basic knowledge of the setting, the caregiver in Shadow. So the caregiver is associated with nurturing, endurance, and unconditional love. Nurgle, again, surprisingly, embodies this archetype, as is evidenced by the joy and care with which he addresses his followers. The shadow side of the caregiver becomes enabling, stagnant, and unhealthy attachment. Nurgle's love traps his followers in cycles of decay and complacency, mirroring how excessive comfort can stifle growth and lead to self-destruction. Khorne is the warrior in Shadow. The warrior archetype embodies strength, honor, which is a hint at things to come, this is where we're going, and the pursuit of victory. Khorne exemplifies this as the god of war and martial prowess. The shadow side of the warrior becomes ruthless, bloodthirsty, and destructive. Khorne's endless thirst for slaughter employs unchecked rage and magnifies the capacity for violence. Slaanesh, as the god or goddess of excess, is the embodiment of two of these archetypes. The first is the lover, and the second is the creator. The lover archetype is associated with passion, beauty, and the pursuit of ecstasy. Slaanesh aligns with this archetype as the god of pleasure. The shadow side of the lover is addiction, obsession, and hedonism. Slaanesh's excesses prompt the descent into destructive indulgence when the pursuit of pleasure becomes singular and unbalanced. The creator archetype is associated with innovation, imagination, and the act of bringing something new into existence. Slaanesh embodies this archetype as the god of perfection, artistry, and boundless creativity. The creator seeks to shape the world through vision and craft, aiming to leave a legacy of beauty and transformation. The shadow side of the creator is obsession with perfection and an insatiable need to produce or refine. Slaanesh's excesses push the descent into destructive perfectionism and the inability to find satisfaction. The shadow of the creator also manifests in exploitative or harmful creative acts, driven by selfish desires rather than genuine inspiration. Now, that all makes sense, I would say, but there are less intuitive and thereby more insidious domains of the chaos gods. I wanted to discuss this in particular because while there is a lot of content online regarding 40K, this isn't really a focus. So we're going to focus on the positive aspects of the chaos gods and why they're so insidious. So Tzeentch represents hope, ambition, and the desire for change. Because what is hope other than that desire for change? Tzeentch embodies the pursuit of knowledge, personal growth, and transformation. Excuse me. Offering followers the ability to transcend limitations and innovate. Magic and sorcery under Tzeentch can symbolize the infinite potential of possibility. Now, coincidentally, or maybe not so, this is all represented by the positive aspects of the magician archetype. In its light aspect, that's not a technical term, that's a term I'm using to differentiate from the shadow. The shadow is in of itself an archetypal force. Light is capital L. It's not something that's used in the Jungian tradition. I'm just using it here to make the differentiation. So in its light aspect, the magician is a seeker of wisdom and an agent of transformation, inspiring growth, innovation, and the realization of potential. Tzeentch's emphasis on change, and therefore hope, because again, what is that but a desire for change, forces evolution and adaptation, albeit through mutation most of the time, but which is essential for personal growth. Nurgle. Nurgle represents life, resilience, and joy. He represents the ability to endure hardship, finding joy in even the direst of circumstances. His followers often feel a genuine sense of belonging and unconditional acceptance, as Nurgle genuinely cares for his creations in his twisted way. Once again, this is represented by the positive aspects of Nurgle's archetype, the caregiver. In its light aspect, the caregiver provides comfort and security, helping individuals endure hardship. Nurgle's followers cry out to him in order to find solace in his acceptance, shielding them from agony by allowing them to endure, providing resilience. Khorne, Khorne's perhaps the most simple of the gods, but he represents martial honor, strength, and the raw power of rage as a driving force for survival. He values the direct pursuit of goals. And in his purest form, he's a warrior's god, celebrating prowess in combat. And as the warrior archetype in its light aspect, he is honor-bound, disciplined, and drives justice through directed, righteous anger. Khorne's preference of strength and directness encourages the constructive use of aggression to overcome obstacles. And Slaanesh, the weird one. Slaanesh represents creativity, passion, and expression. Slaanesh's devotees come to them through the pursuit of pleasure, art, music, and the quest to transcend the mundane through sensory experience. Slaanesh's influence can inspire profound intimacy, beauty, and creativity. And this is, of course, reflective of both the lover and the caregiver in their light aspects. The light lover is inspired by and inspires the pursuit of happiness in meaningful connections. Slaanesh's influence on passion reflects the drive for fulfillment through relationships. The creator, in its light aspect, channels inspiration into the pursuit of excellence and innovation, and the creation of profound works of art, music, and expression. Slaanesh's domain over creativity reflects the desire to transcend the mundane and manifest beauty and originality to make life more meaningful. And this is how they all get you. Falling to chaos isn't a choice you make in a single moment as the result of a desire to do evil. In the case of the Imperium of Man, it's a slow, brutal awakening sparked by the desire for something better: hope, joy, honor, and expression, or love. But the Imperium itself is a joyless, honorless, loveless, hopeless place. Humanity is merely a resource, coal to be shoveled into the furnace to keep the engines of the Empire churning in an attempt to escape its inevitable death, a death it has been in the throes of for millennia. In the 41st millennium, the Imperium of Man is a dystopian theocracy, where humanity endures unimaginable suffering in the hope of preserving their crumbling empire for just one more day. I should have said false hope. In the false hope of preserving their crumbling empire for just one more day. The constant fear of chaos, coupled with brutal authoritarianism from the Inquisition and other imperial institutions, creates an existence devoid of joy, honor, love, or hope, ironically embodying the very despair and stagnation that chaos thrives upon. As I said above, you don't just turn to chaos in an instant. It's a gradual process, and it begins as the noble and necessary pursuit of hope in the face of despair, honor in the face of hollow duty, joy in the face of suffering, and love and expression in the face of passionless detachment. It is the very real, positive aspects of the ruinous powers that lead people of the Imperium to their inevitable destruction in service to their chosen god's evils. Thus, we capture the fundamental tragedy of the Imperium of Man. It's locked in a paradox. It cultivates the very conditions and despair that fuel the warp and the chaos gods, while also suppressing the positive human traits, hope, joy, honor, love, and creativity, that could challenge that very despair for fear of chaos corrupting influence. So this is all for now, but I think this too is also going to become a video series because I actually have a lot more to say on this topic. So I need to prove out how the Empire is loveless and honorless and, you know, hopeless. So I want to prove all that out. And I actually have about 44 pages of notes and writing here that I need to organize into scripts. I'm going to end on this, but I will be reflecting back to it when I get into the Imperium. Now, this wasn't to sort of justify the ruinous powers of the Chaos Gods. They are inextricably evil. But, you know, as is the case with the setting, there is a great deal of evil literally everywhere. You know, the common meme is some form of there is no good guy, and truly there is no good guy. But there's dynamism here, right? And because there's archetypal expression, and because it's pretty well realized, especially in the Chaos Gods and the relationship with the Imperium, the setting in and of itself, and most of the stories told in this setting, have a very tangible mythical quality to them. And that's kind of why I wanted to do this, right? Because it's something fun. It's something to sort of tear my eyes away from endlessly scanning sources. But it's also something I enjoy, right? I love the Warhammer universe. I love 40K. I really love Warhammer Fantasy Battle. And eventually, I'm going to take the Empire from Warhammer Fantasy and compare it to the Imperium to show you how different they are and why that's important, but still mythical. And it's going to be a neat juxtaposition. I'm actually looking forward to getting into it. But at the moment, this is where I'm going to end. So I hope it was interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a Warhammer fan and you're just now, you know, getting to the channel because this is the very first Warhammer video I'm doing, welcome. Please do subscribe. There will be more Warhammer content, specifically with regard to philosophy and myth and archetypes. So no, you know, I'm not going to tell you how to build an army, but I will explore the setting. There's also a lot more RPG content, tabletop RPG content. There's some movie content with some live stream yeah, I was right, live stream discussion. So please do take a look at that if you're at all interested. Again, thank you everyone so very much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.